The bridge of the research vessel Asterisk, Stellar Horizon Asterisk, was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. 4 pairs of eyes stared at the holographic display, showing scanned results of the uncharted planet below. "Impossible," muttered Captain Vex, his 3-fingered hand adjusting the controls. "Run the scan again." Science Officer Trill shook her head, antenna twitching with agitation. "This is the 5th scan, Captain. The readings are consistent. The planet hanging in space before them looked deceptively peaceful from orbit. Swirls of blue, white, and green created a marbled appearance that might have been beautiful if not for what their instruments told them." "Let me understand this correctly," said Commander Orlo, his gray skin paling slightly. "The radiation levels alone should sterilize the surface. The atmospheric pressure is crushing. Temperature variations swing between extremes that would shatter most known materials. The gravity is nearly twice galactic standard. And that's before we discuss the active tectonics, massive storms, and aggressive biosphere," added Trill. "There are life forms down there that produce toxins that would kill any of us in seconds. Yet we're detecting clear signs of civilization," Captain Vex said, pointing at the readout. "Power generation, cities, radio signals, advanced technology." The 4th crew member, Data Specialist Plex, finally spoke up. "Whatever lives down there, it's not in any of our databases. This breaks every rule we know about habitable environments." The Asterisk, Stellar Horizon Asterisk, was part of the Galactic Survey Corps, tasked with mapping the outer spiral arm of the galaxy. In their 10 years of exploration, they had cataloged hundreds of worlds, but nothing like this. "The probes?" asked the captain. Trill sighed. "All failed. The first 3 were destroyed upon entry. The atmosphere tore them apart. The 4th made it to the surface, but lasted only 7 minutes before radiation fried its systems. The 5th survived longest, almost an hour, but was attacked and dismantled by local wildlife." The crew fell silent again, contemplating the deadly world below them. "I'm classifying it," Vex decided. "This is now officially Death World Alpha, the most hostile inhabited planet on record." "Do we attempt contact?" asked Orlo cautiously. Captain Vex tapped his fingers on the console. This was the most significant discovery of their mission, perhaps of any mission in decades. Whatever lived down there had evolved in conditions that should make life impossible. "Yes," he said finally, "but we proceed with extreme caution. Plex, analyze their communication signals. Find a way to talk to them. Trill, I want everything you can tell me about the inhabitants. Orlo, prepare a report for Central Command. This discovery changes everything." Later that night, while the rest of the crew slept, Trill stayed on the bridge, watching the planet slowly rotate below. The ship's sensors had detected something else, something that made her scales tingle with both fear and excitement. The beings on the planet were venturing beyond their world. Primitive spacecraft were detected in low orbit. They were taking their first steps into space. Whatever these creatures were, they had conquered the most hellish environment the Corps had ever found. And now they were looking up at the stars. "Who are you?" Trill whispered to the deadly blue marble hanging in space. What kind of beings could evolve in such a place, and not just survive, but thrive? The answer would come soon enough, and it would change the galaxy forever. 6 months after discovering Death World Alpha, the Galactic Council authorized a proper first contact mission. The ship Asterisk Ambassador Asterisk arrived in orbit, bristling with specialized equipment and heavy shielding designed specifically for this dangerous world. Captain Vex stood on the bridge of this new vessel, joined by First Contact Specialist Mira. Her species specialized in communication with newly discovered civilizations. The translator has processed enough of their broadcasts to establish basic communication, Mira explained. They use sound waves for most communication. Very inefficient, but we've adapted. "And what have we learned about them?" asked Vex. "They call themselves humans, and their planet Earth," she replied. Their civilization is fractured into nation-states, but they're unified enough to have reached their moon and sent unmanned probes to nearby planets in their system. Vex looked at the deadly world spinning below. And they've done this despite living in that. They don't seem to realize how exceptional their world is, Mira said. It's simply home to them. The communications officer raised a hand. Captain, we're receiving a response to our transmission. Multiple Earth governments wish to establish dialogue. On screen, Vex ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing the human face. The being had 2 eyes, a small nose, and thin lips. Its skin was a light brown color, and dark hair covered the top of its head. This is Dr. Thomas Reed, United Earth Communications Director, the human said. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you. Your message has caused quite a stir down here. Vex stepped forward. I am Captain Vex of the Galactic Survey Corps. We wish to establish peaceful relations with your world. The human smiled, showing flat white teeth. We have so many questions. Why don't we begin with a cultural exchange? Would representatives of your ship be willing to visit Earth? We can arrange a secure facility. A hush fell over the bridge. Visit the surface. Mira shot a concerned look at Vex. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Vex said carefully. Your world's environment would be instantly fatal to us. Perhaps you could send representatives to our ship instead. Dr. Reed looked confused. Fatal. Earth is perfectly habitable. What conditions would you need? The science officer quickly forwarded environmental data to Mira, who displayed it for Reed. These are our requirements, she explained. Lower gravity, minimal radiation, and a specific atmospheric mixture. Reed studied the information, his expression changing from confusion to understanding. I see. You evolved in very different conditions than we did. He tapped something off-screen. What's remarkable is that you consider Earth lethal. We've always just called it home. After further discussion, arrangements were made. A human delegation would visit the Ambassador using a specially designed docking system to prevent environmental contamination. 3 days later, Vex watched through a reinforced observation window as 5 humans stepped from their shuttle into the quarantine chamber. They wore no protective gear beyond simple masks to filter the ship's atmosphere. Amazing, whispered Trill, who had joined the mission from the Stellar Horizon *. Look at their muscle density, their bone structure. They evolved in that crushing gravity. One of the humans, a tall female named Dr. Anna Miller, approached the window and raised her hand in greeting. On behalf of humanity, we extend our friendship, she said. We have so much to learn from each other. Vex raised his hand in return, still struggling to comprehend these beings who called the most lethal planet ever discovered simply home. The galaxy would never be the same again. Dr. Trill hunched over her workstation in the Ambassador's Science Lab, surrounded by holographic displays of human biological data. For 2 weeks, she had studied the visitors from Earth, and each new discovery left her more amazed than the last. Captain, you need to see this, she called as Vex entered the lab. I've completed my preliminary analysis of human physiology. Vex approached the central display. Tell me what we're looking at. Miracles, Trill said simply. These humans aren't just surviving on Death World Alpha, Earth. They're perfectly adapted to it. She pulled up a detailed scan of a human body. Look at their skeletal structure, bones reinforced with calcium deposits that would be excessive on any normal world. But on Earth, they're necessary to support movement in that gravity. She swiped to another display. Their cardiovascular system is remarkable. A powerful central pump, they call it a heart, that can adjust to incredible pressure changes. And they have redundant systems everywhere. 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a liver that can regenerate itself. What about the radiation? Vex asked, fascinated. That's perhaps most impressive, Trill said, showing cellular images. Their DNA includes repair mechanisms far more sophisticated than ours. They're constantly being bombarded by radiation that would kill us. But their cells just fix the damage and continue. And their skin. It produces a pigment specifically to protect against solar radiation. Commander Orlo joined them, carrying fresh data from the diplomatic team. The psychological assessments are equally interesting, he added. These humans actually thrive on challenge and danger. They climb mountains, dive into oceans, and explore caves for fun. Fun. Vex repeated, not understanding. Recreation. Enjoyment. Orlo shook his head. They seek out the dangerous parts of their already dangerous world voluntarily. Their literature is filled with stories of exploration and overcoming hardship. In the diplomatic quarters, First Contact Specialist Mira was having a similar conversation with Dr. Miller, the human delegation leader. Your people run marathons? Mira asked, trying to grasp the concept. You mean you run for over 42 of your kilometers, without stopping, for pleasure? Dr. Miller smiled. Some people do, yes. It's a test of endurance. Humans have always pushed boundaries. It's part of who we are. But the physical strain, the risks, we're built for it, Miller explained. Our ancestors evolved as persistence hunters. We can't run as fast as many animals, but we can run longer. We cool through sweating, which lets us regulate our temperature efficiently. We can track prey for days if necessary. Mira's translator struggled to find an equivalent for sweating in her language. Her species regulated temperature through different means entirely. Back in the science lab, Trill had moved on to environmental adaptations. They've settled on every part of their planet, Captain. Deserts, Arctic regions, high mountains, deep jungles. They've built cities in places where the air is so thin most species would suffocate, or where temperatures regularly exceed their body tolerance. How? Vex asked. They build, Trill explained. They create technologies to adapt environments they can't naturally survive in. Cooling systems, heating systems, oxygen concentrators. They've even developed medicines to help their bodies adapt to high altitudes. Vex stared at the displays showing humans thriving in conditions that would kill any member of the Galactic Council races. They don't just adapt to survive, he realized. They adapt to conquer. Exactly, Trill nodded. And now they're looking to the stars. That night, Captain Vex updated his official report to the Galactic Council with a new assessment. The humans of Earth have not merely survived their death world, they have mastered it. And that mastery has made them stronger than we could have imagined. They don't fear the harsh conditions of space because, by their standards, space might actually be safer than their home. The emergency transmission blared through the Ambassador's communication system, cutting through the quiet routine that had settled over the past month of human-alien diplomacy. Captain Vex to the command center immediately, the ship's AI announced. When Vex arrived, his senior officers were already gathered around the main display. Commander Orlo's expression was grim. We've received a distress call from the mining colony on Krellmine, Orlo explained. Their environmental systems have failed. Over 2,000 colonists are trapped. Krellmine. Vex's scales paled slightly. That's one of the Outer Rim heavy worlds. Science Officer Trill nodded. Conditions there are extreme, nearly as bad as Earth in some ways, worse in others. The atmosphere is corrosive, gravity is 1.8 standard, and the surface temperature averages at 45 degrees. We've lost 3 rescue teams already, Orlo added quietly. The conditions are deteriorating faster than expected. The door slid open, and Dr. Miller entered with 2 other human representatives. Though they weren't officially part of the crew, they had been invited to observe operations as part of the cultural exchange. Is something wrong? Miller asked, noticing the tension in the room. Vex hesitated, then decided transparency was the diplomatic approach. We have a crisis situation. A mining colony is in danger, but the planet's conditions are too extreme for our rescue teams. The humans exchanged glances. What kind of conditions are we talking about? Asked Jack Thompson, a human engineer who had been studying alien technology. Trill displayed the environmental data for Krell-9. The humans studied it with interest rather than horror. "This doesn't look that bad," Thompson said. "Actually, parts of Earth are worse than this." "You can't be serious," Mira said. "The atmosphere there would burn your lungs." Dr. Miller studied the chemical composition. "It's acidic, yes, but with proper breathing equipment, it's manageable. The gravity and temperature are within human tolerance." "We could help," Thompson suggested. "If you have the equipment, we could adapt it for human use." The alien officers stared in disbelief. "You're volunteering to go to Krell-9?" Vex asked carefully. "You understand 3 rescue teams have already died attempting this." "People are dying," said the third human, Marcus Davis, a security specialist. "We might be able to help where your teams couldn't. It's worth trying." What followed was 6 hours of intense preparation. The ship's engineers worked with Thompson to modify environmental suits for human use. Dr. Miller coordinated with the medical team to establish biological monitoring protocols. Davis reviewed the colony layouts and developed extraction plans. The aliens watched with a mixture of concern and amazement as the humans calmly prepared to enter conditions that had already killed several experienced rescue teams. "Are you certain about this?" Vex asked Miller as the humans prepared to board the shuttle. "There's no shame in reconsidering." Miller smiled and adjusted her breathing apparatus. "Captain, from what you've told us, we evolved on a planet more dangerous than this one. If anyone can handle these conditions, it's us." "Besides," Thompson added, checking his equipment one last time, "this is what humans do. We help when help is needed." As the shuttle prepared for departure, Trill approached Vex. "If they succeed where our people failed, it will change everything. The Council will have to reconsider humanity's place in galactic affairs." Vex nodded slowly. "And if they don't return? Then we lose good people who were brave enough to try," Trill replied softly. The humans gave a final thumbs up, a gesture the aliens had learned meant approval. As the shuttle door closed, Vex watched the small craft depart, heading toward a world that had already claimed dozens of lives. "Good luck," he whispered, though no one could hear him. "Come back alive." The shuttle broke through Krell-9's thick atmosphere, bucking violently in the turbulence. Inside, the 3 humans braced themselves against the impact of landing. "Touching down in 30 seconds, Thompson announced from the pilot's seat, suits sealed and operational. "All green," Davis confirmed, checking his equipment one final time. The modified environmental suit felt bulky but manageable. Oxygen cycling properly, cooling systems active. Dr. Miller monitored their vital signs on a portable display. Heart rates elevated but within normal parameters. Body temperature stable. The shuttle hit the surface with a bone-jarring thud, skidding slightly before coming to rest. Through the viewport, they could see a hellish landscape, barren rock formations under a sickly yellow sky. The mining complex stood a kilometer away, partially obscured by acidic fog. "Remember, we have 8 hours before the shuttle's shielding fails," Miller reminded them. "Let's move quickly." They stepped out onto the surface of Krell-9. The ground felt solid beneath their boots, but the intense gravity made each step require conscious effort. Davis immediately adjusted his movements to compensate. "Gravity's heavy, but nothing we can't handle," he said. "It's like carrying a backpack filled with weights." They moved toward the mining complex, the corrosive atmosphere swirling around their sealed suits. In the distance, they could see where previous rescue ships had attempted to land. Twisted metal wreckage scattered across the barren landscape. "First team lost control during descent," Thompson observed. "The second team made it inside, but never came out." "And the third?" Miller asked. "Communications failed. We don't know what happened to them." As they approached the main entrance to the complex, Davis noticed something in the acid fog. "Movement at 2 o'clock, he warned. A figure emerged, one of the colonists wearing a makeshift environmental suit constructed from mining equipment. The suit was failing in places, acid eating through the material. "Help!" the alien croaked through a damaged communicator. Others, trapped inside. Systems failing. Miller rushed forward to support the injured colonist. "We're here to help." "How many survivors?" "Over 1,000 in Central Hub. Safety doors locked when systems failed. Can't get out." Davis took the lead. "Show us where." The injured colonist guided them through the complex's darkened corridors. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as they progressed deeper into the facility. The air inside was slightly less corrosive, but still deadly to the aliens without protection. They reached a massive sealed door blocking access to the central hub. Thompson immediately began examining the control panel. "Power's dead," he reported. "We'll need to manually override." "Can you do it?" Miller asked, still supporting the injured colonist. Thompson grinned behind his faceplate. "On Earth, I specialized in mining engineering. This system isn't so different from what we use in deep-sea operations." He worked quickly, connecting his equipment to the door mechanism. "Davis, I need your help. When I trigger the emergency release, we'll have about 15 seconds to physically force these doors apart before the failsafes kick in." Davis moved into position. "Ready. Now." The two men strained against the massive doors, fighting both the mechanism and Krell-9's punishing gravity. Slowly, the doors parted enough for Miller to slip through. "I see them," she called back. "They're alive." Over the next 6 hours, the humans worked tirelessly to evacuate the colonists. They established a relay system, moving the weakened aliens to the shuttle in small groups. The Ambassador sent additional shuttles once the humans confirmed a safe landing zone. In the mining facility's control room, Thompson managed to partially restore power, giving them access to the colony's communication system. "This is Earth Team to Ambassador *", he reported. "We've reached approximately 800 survivors so far. Continuing evacuation." Captain Vex's voice came through, filled with astonishment. "Understood, Earth Team. You've already accomplished more than we thought possible." As they worked, the colonists watched the humans with something approaching awe. These strange beings from a distant world moved through conditions that had killed their own rescuers, seemingly unbothered by the crushing gravity and toxic atmosphere. To the humans, it was just another difficult day. To everyone else, it was nothing short of miraculous. The medical bay of the Ambassador * was filled beyond capacity. Medical staff rushed between beds, tending to the rescued colonists from Krell-9. In the center of the activity stood Captain Vex, watching with a mixture of disbelief and admiration as Dr. Miller examined one of the patients. "Your vitals are stabilizing," Miller told the alien miner. "The acid exposure damaged your respiratory membrane, but it should heal with proper treatment." The miner reached out with a trembling hand. "You walked on the surface." "How?" Miller smiled gently. "We're built differently, that's all. What's deadly to you is challenging but manageable for us." "They're calling you Deathworlders," the miner whispered. Stories are spreading through the ship. Across the room, Commander Orlo approached with several members of the Galactic Council who had arrived after hearing reports of the successful rescue. "Captain," Orlo said, "Council Representative Zinn wishes to speak with the humans." Representative Zinn, a tall, spindly being with iridescent skin, stepped forward. His species evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal environmental variation, the complete opposite of Earth. "We have reviewed the mission recordings," Zinn stated formally. "The Council is recalibrating its assessment of humanity." Thompson and Davis joined them, having just completed debriefing sessions with the ship's officers. "What does that mean exactly?" Davis asked. "It means," Zinn continued, "that we fail to understand what you are. Your home planet, this Earth, it isn't merely hostile. According to our classification system, it should be completely uninhabitable. Yet you evolved there. You thrived there. We just call it home." Thompson shrugged. "That's precisely the point," Zinn insisted. "What you consider normal would kill most spacefaring species in the galaxy within minutes. Your casual disregard for conditions that we find terrifying is unsettling. Miller crossed her arms. I hope unsettling doesn't mean you see us as a threat. Some do, Zinn admitted. Others, myself included, see tremendous potential. Your species can survive environments no other advanced civilization can endure. News of the humans' feat had spread quickly through interstellar communications. On the bridge, Trill monitored incoming transmissions. Captain, we're receiving messages from 17 different worlds, she reported when Vex returned to the bridge. Everyone wants to know about the humans. And what are they saying? Vex asked. It's mixed, Trill replied. Some express concern about introducing such a resilient species into galactic affairs. Others are fascinated. The Science Directorate has officially classified humans as Class 5 Deepworlders, the highest rating they've ever assigned. In the ship's conference room, the human delegation met with Captain Vex and the Council representatives for a formal discussion. We never considered Earth particularly dangerous, Dr. Miller explained. Yes, we have extreme environments, deserts, Arctic regions, deep oceans, but we've always found ways to adapt. That's what's remarkable, said Council biologist Tarn. Most species evolve to fit a specific ecological niche. Humans seem to have evolved to adapt to any niche. It's not just physical, added psychologist Lin. Your psychological resilience is equally impressive. You seek out challenges, you explore, you willingly place yourselves in danger. It's who we are, Davis said simply. Captain Vex activated a holographic display showing Earth. Your world has shaped you into something unique in our experience. You don't merely survive hardship, you're strengthened by it. The implications hung in the air. Humanity wasn't just another species joining the galactic community. They were something entirely new. Beings who called the most lethal world ever discovered home, who walked on planets that killed other species, who saw danger as opportunity. The galaxy is about to change, Zinn said quietly, and humanity will be at the center of that change. As the meeting continued, messages arrived from Earth. The news of their place in the galaxy, as beings from a world so deadly it defied classification, was spreading among humans. And they were eager to explore their new status in the stars. 1 year after the Krell 9 rescue, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with activity. Delegates from over 50 worlds gathered for the historic session. At the center of attention stood 3 humans, Dr. Miller, Thompson, and Davis, now official representatives of Earth. The Council will come to order, announced High Chancellor Zorn, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Today we formalize humanity's unique role in our shared future. The massive view screen displayed images from across the galaxy. Humans working alongside alien species on worlds previously considered too dangerous to explore. Teams of human specialists helped establish outposts on heavy-gravity planets, toxic worlds, and radiation-soaked moons. 6 months ago, we reclassified Earth, continued Zorn. No longer simply Death World Alpha. It is now officially designated as an evolutionary crucible. A world whose harsh conditions forged a species of unparalleled adaptability. Dr. Miller stepped forward to address the Council. On behalf of humanity, we accept this designation. We've come to understand our place in the galaxy is unique. Where you see danger, we see opportunity. Behind her, images showed the first joint human-alien expedition to Variant 6, a mineral-rich planet with crushing atmospheric pressure. Humans led the way, testing conditions and establishing safety protocols before their more vulnerable alien colleagues could follow with specialized protection. In the past year, Miller continued, human teams have explored 17 worlds previously considered uninhabitable. We've established mining operations on 3 and scientific outposts on 5 more. Thompson took his turn at the podium. But perhaps more importantly, we've begun sharing our adaptive technologies. The environmental suits we developed for Krell 9 have been refined and distributed to 12 species. Mortality rates for extreme environment operations have dropped by 70%. Council Representative Trill, now the head of the Xenobiology Division, presented the scientific findings. Human biology continues to provide insights into evolutionary adaptation. Medical treatments derived from human cellular repair mechanisms have already saved thousands of lives across the galaxy. The council chamber erupted in approving sounds, clicks, hums, and various alien expressions of support. Davis presented the final proposal. Today we request approval for the formation of the Crucible Corps, a specialized force of human explorers and scientists dedicated to opening new worlds for the benefit of all species. High Chancellor Zorn raised his hands for silence. The Council has reviewed this proposal. It is approved unanimously. The Crucible Corps will operate under joint command, with humanity taking the lead in field operations. After the formal session concluded, Captain Vex, now Admiral Vex, approached the human delegation in a quiet corridor. "I remember when we first discovered your world," he said. "We thought it was a mistake in our sensors. Nothing could possibly survive there. We believed." Miller smiled. "And now? Now we understand that the very challenges that should have prevented life on Earth instead created something remarkable." Vex gestured toward a viewport showing the stars. "There are worlds out there that no one has ever walked on, not because they're too distant, but because they're too hostile. Until now." Later that evening, as the humans prepared to return to their embassy, they received a transmission from Earth. The first graduates of the Crucible Corps training program were ready for deployment. Thousands of humans had volunteered, explorers, scientists, engineers, all eager to venture into environments no other species could endure. "It's strange," Thompson reflected as they watched the graduation ceremony from across the stars. "For all our history, we never realized how special our home was. We complained about the weather, the gravity, the radiation. And now those very things are our greatest strengths," Davis added. Dr. Miller gazed at the stars visible through the embassy window. "We spent centuries looking up at the night sky, wondering if we were alone. Now we know we're not alone. We're just very, very tough." The galaxy had changed forever. The most lethal planet ever found had given birth to the species that would open the universe for everyone else.